The rain fell hard on the dirty windows of James Miller's small apartment. He sat alone, watching old videos of space launches on his screen. 5 years had passed since they kicked him out of the Space Force. 5 years since the accident that wasn't his fault. James took another drink from his bottle. His medal for bravery hung crooked on the wall, a reminder of better days. A sudden knock on his door made him jump. "Captain Miller, are you in there?" A woman's voice called. James didn't want visitors. He hadn't showered in 3 days, but something about the voice made him curious. "Coming," he said, hiding the bottle under his couch. When he opened the door, a tall woman in a black suit stood there. Her gray hair was pulled back tight, and her eyes looked tired but determined. "My name is Ellen Ward, Director of the Global Space Initiative," she said. "May I come in?" James laughed. The GSI was the biggest space agency in the world. Why would its director come to his small, dirty apartment? "Sure," he said. "Sorry about the mess." Director Ward stepped inside, looking around but not judging. She sat down on the only clean chair. "I'll be direct, Captain Miller. Earth is dying faster than we thought. The air quality index hit record lows last month. The oceans are 30% more acidic than 5 years ago. And the latest food shortage has left 3 billion people on rations." James nodded. Everyone knew things were bad. That's why so many rich people were buying tickets to the Mars colonies. "What does this have to do with me?" he asked. "I'm not a scientist. I'm just a pilot who crashed a very expensive ship." Director Ward smiled for the first time. "That's not what the black box data showed, is it? You saved 12 lives that day by making an impossible landing." James looked away. "Tell that to the review board." "I did," she said, pulling out a small device. She placed it on the table, and it projected a 3D image of a beautiful blue-green planet. "This is Kepler 186f. Our long-range scans show it has breathable air, liquid water, and soil that could grow Earth crops." "It's also 500 light-years away," James said. "Even with our best ships, it would take thousands of years to reach, unless we could travel faster than light." Director Ward's eyes locked with his. James laughed again, louder this time. "Everyone knows that's impossible. Einstein proved it. The physics doesn't work." "That's what they say," Director Ward agreed. "But what if they're wrong?" She pressed another button on her device. A new image appeared. A sleek spaceship unlike any James had ever seen. "This is the Horizon. We built it in secret over the last decade. It uses a new quantum tunneling drive that our best scientists think might, just might, allow for faster-than-light travel." James stared at the ship. It was beautiful, with smooth lines and an unusual engine configuration. 3 test ships with similar technology disappeared over the past 5 years. Director Ward continued. "The scientific community says it's proof the technology doesn't work, but we discovered something they missed." She showed him complicated data that James didn't fully understand. But one thing was clear. There were patterns in the disappearances that suggested the ships didn't break apart. They went somewhere. "We need a pilot, Captain Miller. Someone who can think outside the normal rules when things go wrong. Someone who's not afraid to try the impossible." James looked at his medal on the wall, then back at the director. "Why would anyone agree to this? It sounds like a suicide mission. Because if we don't find a new home soon, humanity won't survive another century on Earth. And because I'm offering you command of the most advanced ship ever built. A chance to make history, or die trying." James thought about his empty life. The bottle under the couch. The nights staring at the ceiling wondering what could have been. "When do we leave?" he asked. 2 months later, James stood in front of the Horizon, docked in the GSI's secret orbital facility. The ship was even more impressive up close, its hull gleaming under the station lights. "She's ready for the final crew inspection, Captain," said Tom Reed, a stocky man with grease-stained hands. As chief engineer, Tom had a reputation for fixing unfixable machines. His last job had ended when he punched his supervisor for cutting safety corners. "How does she look?" James asked. Tom patted the hull. "Like nothing ever built before. The quantum drive is installed and running in test mode. If it works like the models predict," he whistled, "we'll be making history, Captain." Dr. Lisa Cooper approached them, her tablet filled with equations. The youngest physicist ever to win the Nobel Prize, she'd later been pushed out of academic circles for her crazy theories about quantum space. "The drive calculations are complete," she said. "But I need to warn you again, we're pushing into unknown territory. The math suggests it will work, but math has been wrong before. That's why we have you," James said with a smile. "If anyone can solve new problems on the fly, it's you." Michael Davis joined them next. The communications specialist had an unusual talent for understanding patterns and signals. The military had let him go after he developed severe anxiety that kept him from working in normal team settings. "All comm systems are green," Michael said quietly, avoiding eye contact. "But I keep picking up strange background signals when we test the quantum field. It's like echoes of something." "Noted," James said. "Keep monitoring it." Finally, the ship's AI interface flickered to life on a nearby screen. Area, Advanced Responsive Intelligence Assistant, had been programmed specifically for this mission. "Good morning, Captain Miller," Araya said. "All systems are functioning within parameters. The quantum drive is stable at 22% capacity." James looked at his unusual crew, brilliant minds that conventional organizations had thrown away. Director Ward had chosen them carefully. People with something to prove. People who weren't afraid to try the impossible. Outside the station viewports, Earth hung in space, its once blue oceans now brownish, its clouds tinted yellow from pollution. Their home. Their dying home. "Final preparations complete," Tom announced. "We can launch in 6 hours." James nodded. "Send the message to Director Ward. We're ready." As the crew dispersed to their final duties, James stayed looking at the ship. On every news channel, scientists were calling the mission a waste of resources. Impossible. Foolish. A desperate attempt that would end in disaster. James smiled. They said it couldn't be done. They said faster-than-light travel was a fantasy. "We'll see about that," he whispered to himself. The horizon waited, ready to make history, or become another failed footnote in humanity's last desperate chapter. The horizon left Earth's orbit with little fanfare. No cheering crowds, no big ceremony, just a small message from Director Ward. "Make us proud." In the captain's chair, James felt the ship hum beneath him. It was different from any ship he had flown before. Smoother, almost alive. "All systems normal, Captain," said Aria, the ship's eye. Her voice came from speakers around the bridge. "We are clear of Earth's gravity well." James nodded. "Tom, how's our engine?" Tom Reed's face appeared on a screen. He was in the engine room, surrounded by glowing blue equipment. "The regular drives are working perfectly. We're ready to test the quantum drive at your command." James looked at his crew. Michael sat at communications, his fingers tapping nervously on his console. Dr. Cooper checked and rechecked her calculations. "Everyone ready?" James asked. When they all nodded, he took a deep breath. "Prepare for quantum drive test. Start at 10% power." Dr. Cooper spoke up. "Remember, the theory suggests we'll create a tunnel through space-time. We should move instantly from one point to another without crossing the space between." "If it works," Michael added quietly. "It will work," James said firmly. "Tom, start the countdown." Tom's voice came through the speakers. "Quantum drive activating in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The blue glow from the engine grew brighter. James felt a strange tingling in his body. The stars on the view screen began to stretch. Then everything went white. When James could see again, he blinked in surprise. The stars looked different. "Araya, where are we?" he asked. "Calculating." the AI replied. After a moment, she added, "We appear to be 2.3 light-years from our starting position." The bridge went silent. They had just traveled a distance that would normally take years in less than a second. Dr. Cooper laughed with delight. It worked. The quantum drive actually worked. Even Michael smiled slightly. No ship has ever gone this far this fast. Tom's face reappeared on the screen. He looked worried. "Captain, the drive is showing some unusual readings. Temperature is higher than expected." "Can we use it again?" James asked. "Yes, but we should wait a few hours to let it cool down." James nodded. "We'll run more tests tomorrow. For now, let's gather all the data we can." Over the next week, they tested the quantum drive in short jumps. Each time, they went farther. But each time, the engine ran hotter. In the engine room, Tom worked day and night to keep the drive stable. "The problem," he explained during a crew meeting, "is that the quantum field becomes more unstable the farther we try to jump." Dr. Cooper nodded. "It's like stretching a rubber band. The more you stretch it, the more force it takes, and the more likely it is to snap." "Can we fix it?" James asked. "I'm trying," Tom said. "But we're dealing with technology nobody fully understands." Meanwhile, Michael had made a strange discovery. "I keep picking up signals," he told James privately. "They're very faint, but they don't match any known pattern. Could it be interference from the drive?" Michael shook his head. "No, these signals, they almost seem like they're responding to us. Like something is watching." James was about to ask more when AI interrupted. "Captain, I'm detecting an anomaly ahead." On the view screen, space itself seemed to ripple. "What is that?" James asked. Dr. Cooper studied her readings. "It appears to be a distortion in space-time, similar to what our drive creates, but much larger." "Is it dangerous?" Before she could answer, the ship shuddered violently. "We're being pulled toward it," Tom shouted from the engine room. "The gravity is too strong. Full power to the regular engines," James ordered. "Back us away." The engines roared to life, but the ship continued to drift toward the anomaly. "It's not working," Michael said, his voice rising with fear. James made a quick decision. "Tom, prepare the quantum drive." "Captain, it's not fully cooled down yet," Tom warned. "We don't have a choice. Set coordinates for a short jump, just enough to get us clear." As Tom worked, the anomaly grew larger on the screen. The ship shook harder. "Quantum drive ready," Tom reported, "but I can't guarantee where we'll end up." "Do it," James ordered. Again, the blue glow filled the ship. Again, everything went white. This time, when James could see again, nothing looked familiar. The stars were arranged in patterns he didn't recognize. "Araya, where are we?" he asked, his mouth dry. After a long pause, Araya replied, "Unknown, Captain. I cannot match these star patterns to any in my database." Dr. Cooper worked frantically at her station. "According to these readings, we've jumped much farther than intended. Possibly hundreds of light years." The bridge fell silent as the reality sank in. They were lost. "The quantum drive is overheated," Tom reported. "It will take days to cool down enough for another jump." James looked at his worried crew. "All right, let's figure out where we are. Michael, scan for any signals. Dr. Cooper, see if you can identify any nearby star systems. Tom, do whatever you can to get that drive working again." As the crew hurried to obey, James stared at the unfamiliar stars. They had wanted to make history by proving faster-than-light travel was possible. Now they had gone further than they ever planned, with no clear way back. In the following days, strange things began to happen. Crew members reported seeing shadows move when no one was there. Time seemed to flow differently in different parts of the ship. Sometimes an hour passed on the bridge while only minutes passed in the engine room. Dr. Cooper spent hours studying the data. "I think I understand what's happening," she finally told the others. "When we use the quantum drive, we don't just move through space. We move through what I call quantum space, a layer of reality where normal physics doesn't fully apply. Is that why we're seeing these strange effects? James asked. Yes. And I think, she hesitated, I think the drive is changing, evolving. Each time we use it, it works differently. Meanwhile, Michael made another discovery. Captain, I've been analyzing those strange signals. They're not random. They contain patterns, mathematical sequences. What does that mean? James asked. Michael looked up, his eyes wide. I think they're messages. And some of them contain Earth languages. The crew stared at him. Are you saying someone else from Earth has been here? Tom asked. I don't know, Michael said. But these signals are definitely artificial. And they definitely contain human elements. Before they could discuss it further, the ship shuddered again. Warning lights flashed. Hull breach in Section 4. Area announced. Emergency bulkheads activated. What happened? James demanded. Unknown, Area replied. But the quantum drive is showing unusual energy spikes. Tom rushed to the engine room. When he returned, his face was grim. The drive is destabilizing. We need to make a decision, Captain. We can try to limp back toward Earth with conventional engines, a journey that would take generations, or we can attempt one more quantum jump, with no guarantee where we'll end up. James looked at his crew. Despite the fear in their eyes, he saw determination too. Take a vote, he said. Do we go back, or do we go forward? One by one, they gave their answers. Forward, forward, forward. James nodded. Forward it is. Prepare for quantum jump. As they worked to prepare the ship, Dr. Cooper approached James privately. Captain, I've been developing a new theory about quantum space. If I'm right, we might be able to control our jump better than before. What do you need? Time to recalibrate the drive, and faith that my crazy ideas might actually work. James smiled. If they called it impossible, Dr. Cooper, I'm inclined to believe it's worth trying. Dr. Cooper worked through the night. Her fingers flew across her screen as she rewrote the quantum drive's programming. Tom stood beside her, making adjustments to the engine as she directed. Are you sure this will work? Tom asked, wiping sweat from his forehead. Not at all, Dr. Cooper admitted. But our current understanding of physics clearly isn't complete. These anomalies we're seeing suggest there's a pattern to quantum space that we never recognized before. James watched from the doorway. The ship's emergency lights cast everything in a red glow. They had sealed off 3 sections due to damage from the last jump. How much longer? He asked. Almost done, Dr. Cooper said without looking up. Captain, you should know. This jump will be different. If my calculations are correct, we won't just travel through space. We'll be riding the natural currents of quantum space itself. And if your calculations are wrong, Dr. Cooper finally looked at him. Then we'll probably be torn apart at the atomic level. James nodded. Just another day on the horizon. Finish up and meet on the bridge in 30 minutes. Back on the bridge, Michael was still studying the strange signals. Captain, I've managed to isolate one message that repeats more often than the others. He pressed a button, and a scratchy voice filled the bridge. This is Captain Robert Davis of the GSI ship Pioneer. If anyone receives this message, we made it. I repeat, we made it. The quantum drive works, but we can't get back. If you're hearing this, don't attempt to follow our path unless... The message cut off in static. James stared at Michael. The Pioneer. That was one of the test ships that disappeared. 5 years ago, Michael confirmed. But based on the signal degradation, this message was sent less than 3 years ago. Time dilation, Dr. Cooper said as she entered the bridge. Just like we've been experiencing on the ship, time flows differently in quantum space. Can you trace where the signal came from? James asked. Michael shook his head. Not precisely. But it seems to be coming from somewhere in the system we're approaching. James looked at the view screen, which showed a distant yellow star with several planets orbiting it. Then that's where we're going. Dr. Cooper, are we ready for the jump? Yes, Captain. But I should warn you, I've programmed the drive to follow the same quantum path as the signal. It's our best chance of finding the Pioneer. Do it. Everyone took their positions. The damaged ship groaned around them as the engines powered up. Quantum drive at full power, Tom reported from the engine room. Ready on your command. James took a deep breath. Engage. This time, the jump felt different. Instead of the instant white flash, colors swirled around the ship. James felt as if they were being carried by a powerful river. The sensation lasted nearly a minute before the viewscreen cleared, showing them a blue-green planet directly ahead. We've arrived in the target system, Araya announced. The third planet appears Earth-like in composition. Life signs? James asked, his heart racing. Araya paused. Detecting vegetation across 60% of the landmass. Animal life forms present. And human life signs. The bridge erupted in excited voices. Humans. Here. How is that possible? The Pioneer crew must have survived. James raised his hand for quiet. Michael, try to contact them. Michael sent out hailing signals on all frequencies. After several tense minutes, a response came through. Unidentified vessel. This is New Hope Colony. Identify yourself immediately. James couldn't believe his ears. A colony? He activated the comm. This is Captain James Miller of the GSI ship Horizon. We've come from Earth. A long pause followed. Then, permission to land granted, Horizon. Sending coordinates now. As they entered orbit, they could see a small settlement near the coast of a large continent. Buildings made of local materials and salvaged ship parts formed a rough circle around a central plaza. James selected a team to go to the surface. Himself, Dr. Cooper, and Michael. Tom would stay aboard to continue repairs on the quantum drive. The landing craft touched down in an open field just outside the settlement. As they stepped out, James was struck by how Earth-like everything seemed. The air smelled fresh, with hints of unfamiliar flowers. The gravity was slightly lighter than Earth's, making each step feel bouncy. A group of people waited for them. At the front stood a gray-haired man with a weathered face and a patched uniform, a GSI uniform. The name patch read Davis. Captain Davis, James asked in disbelief. The man nodded. Welcome to Kepler 186F, Captain Miller, or as we call it now, New Hope. Kepler 186F. Dr. Cooper repeated. That's impossible. That was our intended destination, 500 light-years from Earth. Captain Davis smiled. It seems the quantum paths are more predictable than we thought. All 3 test ships ended up here, though we arrived years apart according to our ship's logs. He led them into the settlement, where about 50 people lived and worked. Children played in the central plaza. Gardens grew fruits and vegetables. We've been here for 3 years, Captain Davis explained. Though according to your reaction, much more time has passed on Earth. 5 years since the Pioneer disappeared, James confirmed. Fascinating, Dr. Cooper murmured. The time dilation effect is consistent. As they walked, Captain Davis showed them their farms and workshops. The soil here is perfect for Earth crops with minor adjustments. The local plants have proteins similar to those on Earth. We've even started eating some of the local fruits after careful testing. He led them to a large building made from ship parts. Inside, tables were covered with strange artifacts. And this, Captain Davis said, is why you need to stay. The artifacts were clearly not human-made. They featured smooth, flowing designs with embedded crystals that glowed faintly. We found these in ruins about 20 miles from here, Davis explained. An ancient civilization lived on this planet once. They're long gone, but they left behind technology we're only beginning to understand. He picked up a small device. This one seems to be a power source. It's been running continuously since we found it. with no apparent fuel. Dr. Cooper examined a larger artifact. These crystals, they're arranged in patterns similar to the quantum field equations I've been working on. Exactly, Davis said. Whatever race built these, they understood quantum physics far better than we do. And look at this. He led them to a wall covered in strange symbols. In the center was an unmistakable diagram of a solar system, their solar system, with Earth clearly marked. They knew about us, James whispered. We think they visited Earth in the distant past, Davis said. Maybe even helped early humans in some way. We've only translated a small portion of their writing, but it suggests they were watching over several developing species. Michael, who had been quiet until now, stepped forward. The signals I detected. Our warning beacons. Davis nodded. We placed them along the quantum paths we've mapped. There's something you need to know about this technology. He looked gravely at James. The quantum drive doesn't just let us travel through space. Used properly, it could reshape reality itself. That's why we've been trying to warn other ships away until we understand it better. James thought of Earth. Polluted, overcrowded, dying. But this planet could save humanity. We need to bring this information back, and risk others misusing this technology before we understand it. Davis asked. Before James could answer, Tom's voice came through his communicator. Captain, you need to return to the ship immediately. Something's happening to the quantum drive. It's activating on its own. James looked at Dr. Cooper, then back at Davis. I think the decision just got more complicated. James, Dr. Cooper, and Michael rushed back to their landing craft. Captain Davis followed them. I'm coming with you, Davis said. If the quantum drive is activating on its own, I might be able to help. We've studied similar behavior in our ships. The flight back to the horizon was quick. When they reached the ship, they found Tom in the engine room, staring at the quantum drive. The engine glowed with a blue light that pulsed like a heartbeat. It started about 20 minutes ago, Tom explained. No warning. The energy readings are unlike anything I've seen before. Dr. Cooper examined her screens. It's creating a quantum field, but it's not initiating a jump. It's almost like it's communicating. Communicating with what? James asked. His question was answered as alarms began to sound throughout the ship. Multiple objects approaching, Araya announced. They appear to be automated drones of unknown origin. On the bridge view screen, they watched as dozens of sleek, silver objects surrounded the ship. They were unlike any human design, smooth and flowing, with no visible engines or weapons. They look like the artifacts we found, Davis said. Michael worked at the communications console. They're broadcasting some kind of signal. It's similar to the patterns in the alien ruins. Suddenly, the quantum drive's pulse quickened, and the blue glow spread throughout the ship's systems. Screens flickered with strange symbols. The ship's being scanned, Tom said. They're focusing on the quantum drive. RIA, what's happening? James asked. Unknown entities are attempting to access my systems, the AI responded, her voice distorted. They appear to be curious, not hostile. James asked. Negative. But defensive protocols are activating in response to their intrusion. James made a quick decision. Shut down defensive systems. Let them look. Captain, Tom questioned. If they wanted to destroy us, they could have done it already, James reasoned. They're interested in the drive. Let's not give them a reason to see us as a threat. The tension on the bridge was thick as the alien drones continued their scan. Minutes passed. Then, as suddenly as they had appeared, the drones backed away from the ship. But they didn't leave. They formed a ring around the horizon, keeping their distance but clearly standing guard. We're being contained, James said. Dr. Cooper had been studying the data from the scan. Captain, I think I understand what's happening. The quantum drive is based on technology similar to what these aliens used. When we activated it in their home system, it triggered some kind of automated defense. Defense against what? Davis asked. I don't know, but Dr. Cooper stopped mid-sentence as Aria's holographic form flickered and changed. The A's usual human appearance was replaced by swirling patterns of light. Captain Miller, Aria said, her voice now containing strange harmonics. I am receiving data packets embedded in the scans. They contain memories. Memories, James repeated. Historical records, Aria clarified. They are being integrated into my systems. I am seeing the history of this world. Everyone on the bridge watched in silence as Aria processed the information. The beings who built these defenses call themselves the predecessors, Aria finally said. They evolved on this planet approximately 3 million years ago. They developed quantum technology that allowed them to travel between stars and even dimensions. Images appeared on the screens around them. Strange, tall beings with 4 arms and crystalline growths on their bodies. They discovered that quantum technology could be dangerous, Aria continued. It could tear holes in reality if used incorrectly. They fought a war with another species that wanted to use the technology as a weapon. What happened to them? James asked. They left, Aria said. The war damaged the fabric of reality in this region of space. They sealed the damage and departed to another dimension, leaving behind automated systems to prevent the technology from being misused again. And now these systems see us as a threat, Davis concluded. Not exactly, Aria said. The defense system is evaluating our intentions. The predecessors left protocols for identifying worthy successors who might safely use their knowledge. Dr. Cooper's eyes widened. That's why all the ships ended up here. The quantum paths were designed to bring anyone using this technology to this world for evaluation. So what do we do? Tom asked. How do we prove we're worthy? Aria's form shifted again. The defense system requires proof that we understand the responsibilities that come with this technology. It wants access to our full database of knowledge and history. It wants to know everything about humanity. Michael asked nervously. Yes, Aria confirmed. Both our achievements and our failures. James considered this. Showing an alien system humanity's complete history, including wars, environmental destruction, and cruelty, was a risk. But hiding the truth would surely fail their test. The predecessors weren't looking for perfect beings, Dr. Cooper said, as if reading his thoughts. They were looking for those who could learn from mistakes. James nodded. Aria, grant the system access to your complete historical database. Hold nothing back. The blue glow intensified as Aria connected with the defense system. The drones outside moved closer, their silver surfaces reflecting the light from the planet below. Hours passed as the exchange of information continued. James and his crew waited, unable to do anything but watch as humanity's entire history was examined by ancient alien protocols. Finally, the blue light faded, and Aria returned to her normal appearance. It is done, she said. The defense system has rendered its judgment. James held his breath. And we have been granted provisional access, Aria said. The system recognizes our potential, but also our capacity for destruction. It will allow us to leave with limited knowledge of quantum technology, enough to return to Earth safely, but not the full capabilities of the predecessors. The drones outside began to disperse, but one approached the ship. It attached itself to the hull near the quantum drive. It's modifying our drive, Tom reported, checking his readings. But it's not damaging it. It's improving it. The system is giving us a safer version of the technology, Dr. Cooper realized. One with limits built in to prevent misuse. Captain Davis looked troubled. But what about the colony? What about everything we've learned here? Aria answered before James could. The colony may remain. The defense system considers it a test case, a small human presence to observe over time. But no more ships can come here until humanity passes further tests. What tests? James asked. Unknown, Aria replied. But the data suggests they involve how we use the limited technology we've been given. If we prove ourselves responsible, more knowledge will be shared in time. James looked at the view screen, at the beautiful planet below that could have been humanity's new home. Then he thought of Earth, still their home, still worth saving. We have what we came for, he said. A working FTL drive that can get us back to Earth safely. And knowledge that we're not alone in the universe. That will have to be enough for now. Dr. Cooper nodded. Maybe that's the point. We need to earn the right to more. Outside, the last of the drones departed, leaving only stars visible through the view screen. But James knew they were still being watched. The horizon now carried hope for Earth, and a test for all humanity. The horizon prepared to leave orbit around New Hope. Captain Davis had returned to the colony after helping the crew understand the modifications to their quantum drive. Remember, Davis had told James before leaving, the predecessors are still watching. What humanity does with this technology will determine our future. James stood on the bridge, looking at the beautiful blue-green planet below. It seems wrong to leave such a perfect world, he said to no one in particular. Dr. Cooper stood beside him. We'll come back someday. When we're ready. If we're ever ready, Michael added quietly. Tom's voice came through the comm. Captain, the quantum drive is fully integrated with the alien modifications. According to my readings, it's actually more stable now. We should be able to make the return jump in one go. One jump all the way back to Earth? James asked, surprised. Yes, sir, Tom confirmed. The alien technology is incredible. It's like they fixed all the flaws in our design without changing the basic principles. James nodded. Prepare for departure. Set course for Earth. As the horizon moved away from the planet, James thought about what they were bringing home. A working faster-than-light drive. Biological samples from New Hope that could help Earth's damaged ecosystem, and evidence that humanity was not alone in the universe. But most importantly, they were bringing a message that the universe was bigger and stranger than anyone had imagined, and that humanity had both great potential and great responsibility. Quantum drive ready, Tom reported. Take us home, James ordered. The now familiar blue glow filled the ship, but this time there was no discomfort, no sense of being stretched or compressed. It felt natural, as if the ship was sliding along invisible rails through space. The jump lasted nearly 5 minutes, but when it ended, the familiar sight of Earth and its moon filled the view screen. We're home, Michael whispered. But something was wrong. Earth looked different. The continents were the same, but the colors were off. There was less brown, more green and blue. What's the date? James asked suddenly. According to Earth broadcasts, today is March 15, 2197, the eye replied. James exchanged shocked looks with his crew. That's 10 years after we left. The time dilation effect, Dr. Cooper realized. Even with the improved drive, time passed differently for us than for Earth. As they approached Earth, they began receiving messages. At first it was standard traffic control, directing them to identify themselves. But when James sent their GSI clearance codes, there was a long silence. Then, a familiar voice. Horizon, this is Director Ellen Ward. Is that really you? James couldn't help smiling. Yes, Director. We made it back. Another long pause. Then, welcome home, Captain Miller. We thought you were lost. Like all the others. The Horizon was directed to dock at the GSI space station. As they approached, James was surprised to see how much it had changed. It was nearly twice as large, with new sections and technologies they didn't recognize. When they finally docked and the airlock opened, Director Ward was waiting for them. She looked older, with more gray in her hair and deeper lines on her face. 10 years, she said, embracing James. What happened out there? It's a long story, James replied. But the short version is, we made history. In the following days, the crew shared their discoveries with GSI scientists, but they quickly ran into problems. Many scientists refuse to believe their story about the predecessors and the quantum technology. "It's preposterous," said one senior physicist during a review meeting. "You expect us to believe that aliens built this technology and that we're being tested to see if we're worthy of it. The evidence is in the drive itself," Dr. Cooper argued. "It works on principles we barely understand. Examine it." "We have," the physicist replied coldly. "And while we cannot yet explain how it works, that doesn't mean we should accept your fairy tales." The situation grew worse when military officials began asking about weapons applications for the quantum drive. James and his crew refused to cooperate with these inquiries, remembering the warnings about misusing the technology. "We need to tell people the truth," James told Director Ward privately. "Not just GSI, not just the military. Everyone." "That would cause panic," Ward argued. "Would it, or would it give people hope?" After weeks of debate and secret meetings, James made a decision. During a press conference that was supposed to be a simple announcement about advances in space travel, he stepped forward and told the whole story. He told the world about New Hope, about the predecessors, about the defense system watching humanity. He explained that faster-than-light travel was possible, but came with great responsibility. "We stand at a crossroads," he said to the stunned reporters. "The universe has offered us a chance to prove ourselves worthy of joining a community larger than we ever imagined. But first, we must show that we can use this gift wisely." The reaction was immediate and mixed. Some called him crazy. Others called him a visionary. Governments demanded control of the technology. Religious groups declared it proof of divine design. But something unexpected happened too. People around the world began to change their behavior. Knowing they were being watched and evaluated by an ancient civilization made many reconsider their actions. Countries that had been fighting over dwindling resources began to cooperate. Environmental restoration projects received unprecedented funding and support. A new sense of unity spread as humanity faced its first real cosmic test. 6 months after their return, James stood with Dr. Cooper on a hillside, watching a sunset over a cleaner, greener Earth. "Do you think we'll pass their test?" he asked. Dr. Cooper smiled. "I think we already are. Look there." She pointed to a construction site in the distance, where the first of a new fleet of ships was being built. Unlike the military vessels of the past, these were scientific explorers, designed to map the quantum paths that the predecessors had left throughout the galaxy. "We're not alone anymore," Dr. Cooper said. "And we never were. That's changing how people think about everything." "They said faster-than-light travel was impossible," James mused. "They said we'd never find other intelligences in the universe." "They said a lot of things," Dr. Cooper agreed. "But we made history by proving them wrong." As darkness fell, James looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, the predecessors were watching. And somewhere beyond, other civilizations waited to be discovered. Earth had faced its greatest crisis and found not just a solution, but a new beginning. Humanity had been given a second chance and a greater purpose, all because a small crew on an experimental ship had dared to attempt the impossible. James smiled as he spotted a new light moving across the sky, another Horizon-class ship, beginning its journey to the stars. "They said it would never happen," he whispered. "But we made history." And somewhere in the vast cosmos, ancient watchers nodded in approval as humanity took its first tentative steps toward joining them among the stars.